Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Football Consistency Show. I'm Bob Lung, of course, from Big Guy Fantasy Sports in beautiful palm tree ridden Canton, Ohio. And that guy, of course, is Ron Rigney, who does live in a state where there's actual palm trees in Florida. So, Ron, how's it going? I see you're proudly wearing your FTN shirt for our good friend Jeff Ratcliffe and all the gang at FTN. So, thank you for representing them. Appreciate that.
Representing the competition a little bit. Those are good guys over there,
It's
though.
not competition. They're much,
Yes,
much better than us. We know that.
no.
Yeah.
We're
No,
legends.
they don't
We're
have
legends in our
consistency
own
though, and
mind.
that's what's important. That's why
It's
we're
true.
here.
They're definitely not as consistent as we are. So yeah, I figured to represent these guys. Yes, we got palm trees. I've only seen one alligator this week, so that's pretty good. So I don't know. I
Hey,
don't know how many of those you have in Cleveland, but I think I've got you beat on the alligator count this week.
you probably got us there. Yeah, yeah. We don't have a lot of alligators. We got a lot of Canadian geese, so we do have that.
Okay. Okay.
So we got that going for us, which is nice. But this week, last couple of weeks we've been doing the ADP versus the position ranks. We did quarterbacks, we did running backs, and we were going to do wide receivers. But you and I and Colby Conway, who we were hoping to be here but couldn't make it, participated in the what's called the FanEx Draft. FanEx has been a long time. I mean, I think I've been in the FanEx probably 15 years. And it's one that kicks off with a lot of experts in the country, across the country. And basically, the idea is we compete, we have a draft, and I mean, we'll play it out. But we also write an analysis for every pick that we make, why we thought it was a good value or what. And I thought it would be good for us to go over this because it's a 12-teamer. It's kind of a straight PPR, nothing fancy. One quarterback, two running backs, three receivers, one flex, and a kicker and a defense. We won't worry about kicker and defense all that much. But I think it's a good thing for us to kind of break down. We'll talk about our consistency model and the players that we see and we drafted because of that. And then also just some unique things that we saw, good or bad, about some of the other picks. We may pick on our own picks. We'll have to wait and see. But interesting enough, Ron, you had the first pick in this draft, and I'm going to bring this up on screen. So for those of you who can make this bigger on yours, you can see it. So, Ron, you had the first pick. Colby had pick 2, and then I was all the way at the opposite end at pick 11. So we basically control the turns by every stretch of the imagination. So, you started McCaffrey. Colby started CeeDee Lamb. I mean, there's really no argument there. Again, regular league, McCaffrey was a stud. You have to take him. There's a lot of discussion about that number 2 pick, whether it's Lamb, whether it's Tyreek, whether it's Jefferson, whether it's Chase. Everybody's all over the place. And I've seen people take running backs that in the first round, as you see, didn't go until pick 8, 9, 10. Which I thought was interesting because I was in a draft today with the FSGA group, and it was a 14-teamer, pretty much the same scoring, same lineup strategy or lineup scenario, but Breece Hall went 3rd, Bijan went 4th. So interesting there, Ron. So talk about, obviously CMC is CMC. I don't think you need to sell yourself on why you picked him. But, what did you see in that first round? Did you think it was a little bit unique that we started out after you basically went 6 wide receivers before the first running back? Did you think that looked a little bit out of the norm? I mean, ADP wise, it kind of is. What are your thoughts on that first round and how it went down?
Yeah, I mean, I thought a little bit about CD, and another guy I thought about too was Amon-Ra with that first pick. But I feel like,
Yeah,
when I start to get cute like that, that's when I really screw
right.
myself. And if everything's equal and everybody plays 17 games, you're going to take McCaffrey every time. So that's
Yep.
you don't get cute with that. If he's healthy, he's the guy. CD at number 2, not a surprise. I think me personally, if I'm looking at those 3 running backs, if I'm looking at Hall, Barkley, and Robinson, I think I would rather have them before Garrett Wilson at 5. I'm a little
Yeah.
sketchy with Justin Jefferson at 4 just because of the QB situation. I mean, we know he's all world. He just got the Brinks truck backed up and got that big deal. But I think I'd rather go with those running backs who are going to do a little bit of everything. I look for Bijan especially. I look for them to just let Bijan loose and just feed him the ball through the air, on the ground. That looked a little bit weird to me. Jamar Chase, a little bit sketchy to me too. I think I'm a little gun shy from last year because I had him in the auction. I think Joe Burrow is going to be okay, but there's still a little bit of question about, if Joe Burrow is going to be fully back. I think he will be, but I'm good with it. I'm good with what I got, but I think before at least Jefferson or Garrett Wilson, I'm taking all three of those running backs.
Yeah, I think that's the one that really stood out to me too, is Garrett Wilson at 5. I mean, his ADP right now is pick 12, which again, I'm also kind of comparing this to the 14-teamer today. Wilson went pick 14. So, he's late first round. I thought maybe Wilson might make it to me and didn't think that Brown. I'm just kind of looking here. We have two. Oh, wait a minute. 2 Browns? How do we have 2 Browns? Oh, that's Amon-Ra. It just said A Brown. And I'm like, wait a minute. I picked A Brown. But he picked Amon-Ra St. Brown. So it's St. Brown at 6. And then I took A.J. Brown at 11, which A.J. Brown, went. I was trying to think he went in the first round. I thought maybe he didn't. No, he went early second. But anyway, I need to stop looking at that. It's just throwing me off. I'm going to close that. But yeah, so I think like the rest of them kind of all fell out as planned. So let's, as we kind of look at that, let's take that turn into round 2. Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, I've seen Jahmyr Gibbs in some leagues going in the first round, ahead of maybe a couple of those guys. Again, Garrett Wilson usually doesn't go in the first round. Gibbs sometimes falls in there. But Gibbs went first pick, second round. Came to me, and I was looking at the wide receivers. I could have got Devontae Adams, Marvin Harrison Jr., but none of them just really jumped out of me. And Ron, I'm a fan of your Indianapolis Colts, Jonathan Taylor, as much as you are, and I just couldn't pass up that pick right there. His ADP is in that realm, in that range. So, I felt like, again, when you're picking at the turns, you have to think, okay, who do I pick now? Because I won't see before he gets back. Now, there's a lot of players, but that was an obvious one that I'm like, he's just too good. He's just too talented not to take at that spot. And compared to the other running backs that came after him, like ETN, Kyron Williams, Pacheco, I just felt like I had to do that. And I didn't think there was a super stud wide receiver. Maybe Devontae, I hesitated for a second, but would you have done the same thing there? I mean, I know you're a Taylor fan, so I'm going to say thinking the answer is yes. But what was your thoughts on that pick that I went with there?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a homer pick. It definitely makes sense. And when we talked a little bit last week about the depth charts and some of these teams. And when you look at the depth chart for the Indianapolis Colts, he's got Trey Sermon behind him. And not to say Trey Sermon can't possibly be a serviceable backup, but it's not Zach Moss like we had last year. Zach Moss carried that team along with Gardner Minshew. The backups kind of did their thing. So Zach Moss has moved on to bigger and better things in Cincinnati. But unless Jonathan Taylor is absolutely dead, he is going to get the ball early. He's going to get it often, and he's going to have to take a little bit of the pressure off that passing game with Anthony Richardson, who's coming back. So I like what you did there. A couple of these guys scare me a little bit. Devontae Adams, again, with quarterback situation. We don't know if it's Gardner. We don't know if it's Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell showed some flashes last year, but I'm not super, super confident in that quarterback situation. Love Marvin Harrison as a player. Just, as our guy Lenny Melnick says, a rookie is a rookie is a rookie. So we'll see how that goes. Other than that, past there, I don't think anything's too far off. I like Jordan Pacheco a lot. I think that guy's going to get the rock early and often. We talked about Derrick Henry last week and all the reasons to like him. You saw Travis Kelce go off the board there as the first tight end in the second round. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about these tight ends here in a little bit. But I went Stephon Diggs. I know you went Stephon Diggs in your draft today.
Yep.
Contract year, moving to Houston, high-octane passing attack, great offensive coordinator, got a running game to support it. What's not to like there? And I was ecstatic that he was there for me at pick 13. Or pick 12.
Which actually surprised me because the man that picked right before you is one of the biggest Texans fans that we know in the world. and he passed on Stephon Diggs to take Drake London. Were you shocked by that pick?
I was. I like
Oh,
Drake
yeah.
London. I do, but man, thought
Yeah.
Colby had me there. Yeah, because I was crossing my fingers. The nice thing about having Colby pick at the turn too is Colby would usually tell me when I was on the clock too. So when he would tell me I could get up there, and I saw who I was getting. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna probably go with Pittman here just because he's my guy for the Colts. And I
Right.
was screaming that he did not take Stephon Diggs. It took me about 3 seconds to hit that draft button.
I'll bet. Interestingly enough, again, looking at ADPs based on what you guys picked there, and like I said, I don't think there's a lot of love for Stephon Diggs. Now I picked him at the end of the second round because again, that was pick 28. His ADP is pick 28. But I was just, surprised that he fell that far. And even more surprising is that Drake London is at pick 18.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, if you're sitting there and you're looking between London, Diggs, and Pittman, I mean, I'm taking Pittman every day. Diggs would be second, and London would be my third choice. Agree, or would you go different?
I would have it Diggs then Pittman, but it's close,
Yeah.
and you can make an argument either way. But I
Yeah.
think the thing we both agree on is London would be 3 out of 3 with those 3 guys for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean, Kirk Cousins is a huge upgrade for Drake London. Totally get that. But man, he still feel like he hasn't proved, again, hasn't had the best quarterback situations. But, those first 3-4 rounds for me, I need that guaranteed consistency. Diggs, Pittman, those kind of players. I wouldn't be able to pull the trigger on London. Now, Colby has proved us wrong before. So we'll see what happens there. So, but yeah, I think the rest, obviously, yeah. Let me ask you this. So if London got picked, but you had to choose between Diggs or Derrick Henry at that 2 spot, would you have taken Henry instead of Diggs?
I think I would have went Diggs just because, with me taking McCaffrey at number 1, I think it allowed me to wait on running back a little bit more. Now, not to say that's not a solid 1-2 punch, but I think I still would have went the direction I went for sure.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so we go into the third round. You took Pittman. Colby came back with another kind of surprising pick. I guess maybe not. I mean, he went Rachaad White. Rachaad White last year certainly proved his worth, had some great games, showed his consistency, no question about it. He could have went third receiver, could have taken a DJ Moore, Olave, Deebo Samuel, one of those kind of guys. He didn't. I wish and we'll have to get him on at some point and talk about it, but I was kind of surprised with that pick that he went that as his first running back, especially with, this new Houston Texan named Joe Mixon sitting there. Thought maybe he might jump on him or thought maybe he'd make it back, but obviously he wouldn't have. But again, I don't have a problem with Rachaad White as his number 1. He ends up getting Alvin Kamara as number 2 a little bit later. I think that's a good 1-2 punch, getting them a little bit later. Josh Allen, first quarterback off the board. Laporta goes, and now that Kelsey is gone, interestingly enough, DJ Moore, Chris Olave, James Cook, Deebo Samuel, Metcalf, Nico Collins. I went Mike Evans. We love that consistency. He did it last year with Baker. Nothing's changed much on that team. So I thought that was a really good value to get him there to match up with A.J. Brown. And then Amari Cooper went at the end of the third round there. Anything surprising? Do you think James Cook's a little early? I guess that's his ADP. I'm looking here. Let's see, Rachaad White's was 29. Pacheco's is 31. Trying to find James Cook. Is it 41? So maybe a little early. Middle of round 3. Your thoughts?
I feel like, we talked about Josh Allen being the first quarterback off the board and that wide receiver room that they have that's lacking quite a bit of firepower. And I think that James Cook's going to have to be a focal point of that offense. And the thing that scares me a little bit with him is with an increased workload. I don't know if he's necessarily built for that. Not a real big back. did a pretty good job of staying healthy last year. I had him on my Kings Classic team, and he was a nice RB2. But I think his ADP and where I got him last year was somewhere around pick 60. So he outperformed
Right.
that by quite a bit. Obviously, he's not going to be a pick 60 this year after the season he had. They're going to have to lean on him. So, I mean, it's one of those things that, yeah, I think the touches are going to be there, but is he going to be durable enough to keep up with that workload? That scares me a little bit. Other than that, I don't see anything else in this round you can really make an argument with. I'm not taking Josh Allen second round or third round.
No, no.
I'm waiting on my quarterback a little bit. I think you're the same way as we get to that point. Love Laporta in the second round. And I think these receivers are second round receivers too. I think they're right about where they're at. You took Mike Evans. I think that Tampa offense is going to be solid yet again as long as those guys can stay healthy. Mike Evans, one of the most underrated guys I think we've ever seen. Guy's going to be a Hall of Famer. 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, probably 80 grabs. So for your wide receiver too, I think you did pretty good there.
Cool. All right. So then came probably the toughest decision in this draft for me. It could win me the league or it may kill me. And that's Devin Achin. Now, when he plays and he's healthy, he's tough. He's amazing. Blazing speed, but we saw that he doesn't hold up well over time. Seemed to get nicked up, miss a couple games here, a couple games there. You can't have consistency if you're not on the field consistently. Plain and simple. But we went Josh Jacobs, Achin. I thought about Mixon there, and I was like, but Achin's ADP is 20. I got him at pick 38. So I'm like, man, he's at least my number 2. I thought it would be a good, and then I thought, well, I'll just come back with another solid, somewhere down the road, which I did. But what did you think when I took Devin Achin?
I mean, that's a nice little cluster of running backs there, and I think you make a pretty good argument with any of them. But like you did with Raheem Mostert last year, he struck gold with that Dolphins running game. And,
right.
I mean, Devin Achin is just a big play waiting to happen. We saw that last year, and I don't see anything that's going to be any different from that. I mean, they're still going to be able to throw the ball over the yard. You got Mike McDaniel, who knows how to get the ball to guys in spots and in space. I'm fine with it. I think it's a good pick. And like you said, it's a good value pick. It's about almost, a full 2-3 rounds behind what his ADP is.
Yeah.
You did good.
Definitely. So anyways, we moved through the 4th. Then we had another quadruple of wide receivers. I was shocked to see Malik Neighbors go this early. I understand that this kid is talented, or was talented in college. His ADP is like 46, so really early. Then Devonta Smith, no problem. Cooper Kupp went in the middle there, 7th pick of the 4th round. No problem. Zay Flowers, again, it depends on your thought process on Zay Flowers. Certainly had some good games, was decently consistent for a rookie, kind of like him. But what do you think? Other than Kupp, we all know, we've talked about it. So in my draft today, I took Kupp as my 3rd receiver in round 3, probably a little early, but it was, again, 14-team draft. So I felt like it was a good value there. But of those 4, are you just taking Devontae and Smith and Cooper Kupp there, or do you have some love for Zay Flowers? Pretty sure you don't have any love for Malik Neighbors in the 4th round.
I have love for Malik Neighbors as a player. He's a talented player, but again, the situation kind of scares me a little bit. He's a rookie. Yeah. I love me some Zay Flowers. I would take Zay Flowers there all day long.
All right, cool.
Dude, but again, I'm a little bit more partial. He won me a league last year, so my flex nonetheless. But I think any of those guys there are fine. Smith is fine. Flowers, Kupp. I had all those guys kind of on my little board there. They didn't make it to me. I think a little bit past that, a little bit interesting. Trey McBride is the 3rd tight end off the board there. I thought that was a little interesting going ahead of Mandrews, going ahead against Evan Ingram and Kyle Pitts and some of the guys that were taken outside that, right around that number 5 tight end spot. So I thought that was a little interesting. But again, if you're going based on what you saw from Trey McBride last year, no reason that he can't put that up. And they lack a few targets. We talked about that last year too. Or last week, too, after Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride is the guy. There's not a lot else in that wide receiver room, so the targets are probably going to be there.
Yeah, and then you went Keenan Allen, which we all love Keenan Allen. And, is your third wide receiver just almost seems unfair. I mean, yeah, Caleb Williams is a rookie, and yes, there's DJ Moore and maybe Roma Dunze, but Keenan Allen's going to get open. He's going to be Caleb Williams' best friend. They have Cole Kmet. Usually tight ends are your best friend, but Keenan Allen's going to be his best friend because he is going to save him those quick turnarounds, those quick slant plays. That's what Allen does best. He just gets open. And that's what's going to help Caleb Williams a lot. I easily see Keenan being right up there, and I assume you feel the same way. That's why you drafted him.
Absolutely, and I'm not expecting a 100-catch season out of him. I'm not expecting wide receiver 1 numbers, and if he does that, awesome. That's just better for me. But I've got 2 wide receiver 1s already. If I get 70 grabs from him, if I get 5 or 6 touchdowns, that's right about what I want. But, the other thing Keenan Allen is great at, too, is catching the ball in traffic. You've ever watched this guy play. He's big. He's physical. He's a little bit older, but he showed no signs of slowing down whatsoever. And the thing about Keenan Allen, too, is we've seen him stay healthy the last couple seasons as well. That was kind of the knock on him before. But, like you said, with DJ Moore there, but that could help him a little bit, too. But as my wide receiver 3, he was definitely the best guy there for sure.
Gotcha. All right, we make the turn. You came back with Ramondre Stevenson, who just got paid. And well-deserved. I mean, I think he's a very good running back. Got him as your RB2. You have McCaffrey. Talk about your thoughts on Stevenson and why you made that pick.
You've got a rookie, most likely a quarterback. You've not got a lot on the outsides of receiver. They're going to have to run the ball. Gerard Mayo, defensive guy. I think that the strategy is going to be coming in, playing defense, running the ball. Ramondre Stevenson is that guy. He's coming off an injury, so he might be a little fresher. He might take a little bit of time to get going. But his only they got Antonio Gibson there as well. Antonio Gibson's kind of a change of pace guy. Ramondre is going to be the guy getting the goal line touches. He's going to be the guy getting on first and second down, and he can catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield. Not something he
caught 69 passes a couple years ago. So
so I mean, they might need to lean on him a little bit more. But to me, as my RB2, love the upside there.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely like that pick. Colby actually came back with Alvin Kamara, who's a favorite of mine this year as an RB2. Haven't had a chance to get him. I keep talking about how much I like him and Derrick Henry, and I haven't gotten him in either draft. He always just seems to not make it to me. And to be honest with you, I probably guess I could have taken him instead of Achin, but I was like, nah, I'm going to take the high upside there. But great pick, I think, there by Colby, especially, as his RB2. Then we go Pickens, and then we had the massive quarterback run. Stroud goes, Jalen Hurts goes, which was really shocking to me that Jalen Hurts went after Stroud. First off, the fact that the guy took Stroud ahead of Hurts and Lamar Jackson just was dumbfounding to me. But there was. I'm sure if Colby was here, he'd be like, no, that was the best pick ever. But then I would ask Colby why he didn't pick him in round 5 either. So I don't think you would pick Stroud ahead of Hurst or Jackson. Where do you feel comfortable if you're in a draft, you need a quarterback, and Stroud's there? What round does it have to be for you to pick him?
I think I felt maybe if it was 1 round later. If I get him in round 6, I don't think that's too bad. But if it just goes to show you, if you want him on your team, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to take him in that round 4, round 5 spot. And the numbers could be there too. I mean, we talked about how they added Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon, and we saw what he did last year as a rookie. So he definitely could outperform those 2 guys, but I don't think I'm quite there yet to take him before Hurts or take him before Lamar Jackson.
Gotcha. So as I said, Hurts, Jackson goes. Christian Kirk, who I like this year, went in that round. McLaurin, Prescott. So I was sitting there thinking that that's my 5th pick or 5th round pick, that I was probably going to take a quarterback because I'm like, wow, if Hurts or Jackson falls that far, and then I was like, well, I guess I could take Burrow, but then, oh no, I'll wait till the next round to take Burrow. So I took T. Higgins, who at the time had not still signed his tender, his franchise tag. So I'm like, all right, if he's going to fall this far, I might as well grab him because it's such great value because he's normally like a 3rd or 4th round pick. And I'll get Burrow on the way back. And once again, Burrow didn't make it back. So Ingram went, Joe Burrow went. So now that Burrow's gone, I'm like, my only other quarterback I like at that point was to get Jordan Love, which, again, I'm like, I'll wait. I don't think anybody's going to grab him. So I take David Montgomery just because mostly, one, Montgomery was available. Two, it made me feel a little bit better that if HN goes down, I've got a solid, good, consistent running back to fill his spot. And I think probably that scared me the most and why I went Montgomery there. But we all know Montgomery was fifth in consistency last year at running back at 81%. So definitely like that. Then we went Kyle Pitts, Chris Godwin. Nick Chubb went in the middle of the 6th round, which that was way too early, but, again, we never know. Then it made it all the way down. And then you and Colby decided to go back-to-back quarterbacks. Colby stole your Anthony Richardson, and you stole my Jordan Love. So then I was like, oh, hell, I'm never going to get a quarterback. So talk about, one, were you upset that he took Richardson? Were you thinking about taking him there? And are you comfortable with Love as your starter?
I was looking at him a little bit, but I was not dead set on taking Anthony Richardson there. Love the upside, just don't know how the health is going to be. It'd be nice to stack him with Pittman as well. But
right.
I thought Jordan Love was a little bit safer of the, and I mean, of course, I didn't have an option there at that point.
Right.
I figured if I waited a little bit, I was gonna. The guy I probably would have waited a little bit longer on was Tua or Justin Herbert. But I went ahead and went Jordan Love just because, as we saw him progress last season, we saw how good he got towards the end of the year. 4,000 yards, 32 scores, 10 picks. They don't necessarily have a standout wide receiver one, but they've got a lot of guys that are really good. So he's going to be able to toss it all over the yard. They had Josh Jacobs, but I wasn't too upset about that. But yeah, I definitely, you definitely let me know that you were interested in Jordan Love after you saw my pick. That's for sure.
I was. Then you came back with DeAndre Swift as your third running back, which I liked a lot. Again, some really good value there. If he stays healthy in Chicago, I think that's a great pick. Talk about that pick for you.
Well, you don't sign a guy and give him $8 million a year, I think is what he got, just to have him be a committed guy. You don't see running backs get tons of money anymore, and an $8 million contract for a guy that's been in the league a little bit. They're going to give him the football early and often, and they're going to need to with the rookie quarterback. And he catches the ball well. We saw that in Detroit. Didn't see it as much in Philly. Kind of got lost in the shuffle, I feel like, a little bit in Philly sometimes. But when he was in Detroit, he was giving you those clutch games, not necessarily because he was running on between the tackles, getting quite a bit, but he was that 5 for 45 guy through the air and catching a touchdown in the red zone. And so I think they're going to be able to use him that way. But running back 3, I mean, I'm starting him as my flex at this point, and I think that's a solid way to go there. And I handcuffed Rashawn Johnson a little bit later too. So Swift goes down. I feel like Rashawn Johnson's the next guy up. So I've got that. I think I've got that at least that first and second down situation locked up.
Colby comes back finally with his first Texan, a Tank Dell. Bunch of running backs, wide receiver. I mean, just a lot of that. Again, was looking for Purdy to fall to me. Didn't happen. He gets picked. So I saw Marquise Brown sitting there, and I'm like, oh, well, heck, I should take him because he's much better value than – because at this point, I'll keep thinking, okay, well, I'll get one of some other quarterback later. So we're getting, we're getting close to that half-hour mark. So I just want to kind of look at, where things went. So I went Marquise Brown there. I finally took my first tight end in round 8, and it was George Kittle. I was quite surprised that he was there, but so was Jake Ferguson, also in round 8. Seemed like tight ends just weren't really loved in this draft. Was shocked by Pitts went in round 6, Kincaid went in 6, Ingram went 5, Kittle 8, Ferguson 8. Heck, even Dallas Goedert went in the 10th. Schultz went in the 9th. Njoku went in the 8th as well. Were you surprised at that, how far the tight ends fell? I mean, it's not a tight end premium, but you still have to start one.
No, I definitely wasn't. As it was getting to that 9th round, after I took DeAndre Swift and then I come back with Quentin Johnson, wide receiver 1 for the Chargers. I was wanting to get one of those guys, and I saw Njoku kept falling and falling and falling. That was a little surprising. You got Kittle, which I think is a great value where you got him.
Yeah.
I felt pretty good getting Dalton Schultz in the 9th, and then I followed
Yeah,
that up a few rounds later
absolutely.
with Kate Otten, mix and match a little bit. But getting a top 10 tight end and a guy that's in an improving offense, I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, another pick I really liked of yours was Romeo Doubs. I mean, talk about a forgotten wide receiver in Green Bay. He is going so far down, and people forget about the fact that like he was Jordan Love's man down the stretch, and especially in the playoffs. Like he was who Love was looking at. Watson can't stay healthy. Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks are both young. And Dobbs just got the job done. And yet you got him in the 10th round. I think today, I picked him in around like 13, something ridiculously low, as like wide receiver 5 or 6. So yeah, I really like him with that pick you had. The rest of my team, I finally took my quarterback. And I basically did the streaming concept, which we've talked about before, and that is the magical Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, start them when one of them's at home. And so I decided I took Goff at 9th round. I took Cousins in the 7th round or the 11th round, and then kind of just, squeezed some players, in between. I took Jacoby Myers, who I like a lot. Again, remember, it's in the guide. If you haven't seen it, Jacoby Myers was top 24 in both points and consistency last year. And yet I got him as my wide receiver 5. So definitely will help, definitely be a flex, maybe, certainly be filling in on bye weeks. The rest of the draft, I grabbed Jerry Jeudy late. Nobody has any love for him in Cleveland. Again, he's still a young wide receiver, could have some upside. Ron, anybody else? I mean, we can look at Colby's real quick. He took Richardson, ended up taking Miles. Matt Stafford, Curtis Samuel, I like. He got him in the 12th. Mike Gesicki as his backup tight end, playing in Cincinnati. Gotta like that. Jalen Warren, Brian Robinson Jr., a lot of good picks there too. Anything else that jumps out to you before we wrap this one up? I think all three of us did well. I would expect all three of us to be in the playoffs, and maybe we'll be playing in a dual finals between the 2 or 3 out of us 3.
I like Colby's pick of Derek Carr super, super late as well.
Yeah, right.
Like you mentioned, I got Romeo Doubs, my wide receiver 5, came back a couple rounds later and got Adam Thielen as my 6. And I mean, if he's healthy, he's going to have in a PPR, he's going to have a lot of value. I like getting Kate Otten later. Kate Otten's one of my, I hate to use the word sleeper, but one of my tight ends that I think is going to kind of creep up into that top 10. Not a lot of competition there, like we talked about. I think that Tampa offense is going to be, as good or a little bit better than it was last year. Bringing everybody back, and I think he's going to benefit from that. Xavier Legette a little bit later, kind of a handcuff to Thielen, rookie for Carolina, big target, going to be a big red zone target there as well. Got my Colts defense a little bit later, and I was excited to get. I know you don't get too excited about kickers all that often, but I was pretty excited about getting Kaimi Fairbairn, the kicker for Houston, as late as I did. Guy's going to be a top 5 kicker, so give me a little value there. But overall, and another guy that, and I want to talk about my last pick real quickly. Again, don't like to use the word sleeper, but Audric Estime, rookie running back for Denver. If you watch Notre Dame play at all, dude's a big back. He's a 4.7 40, so he's not a burner. Runs between the tackles well, reads blocks well, has a nose for the end zone. I think the dude's got a really good shot at having that starting job. I know we like Javonte Williams, but Audric Estime is a guy that is practically free in drafts, and he's definitely worth a bench spot for sure.
I definitely agree. So, all right. So there's our FanEx draft with Colby, Ron, and myself. So, Ron, thanks for helping me break that down. I think we all 3 have some very good teams, and it's always interesting to draft in this one because there are always some interesting picks. But I felt we all did well, as we should, because we're a hell of a team. So, Ron, before we take us out, to everybody where they can find you, and we'll roll from there.
Yeah, man, at Ron Rigney on the Twitter machine. Random football card of the week. We got a little Steve Young action here.
Yeah.
If you haven't, Steve Young had a hell of a run there. He was backing up Joe Montana forever, but once he got that starting job, I thought that one was kind of cool as well. Looks like a little top secret file folder there. A little 97
that is cool.
Clear football action. So I'll pull that out for you. But I don't know about you, but I've got my Scott Fishbowl live draft here coming up Saturday in Fort Lauderdale. So
yours is this weekend. Okay, mine's
this weekend.
Next weekend.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. Looking to meet some awesome people there over in Fort Lauderdale for my draft, and get that going Saturday. But yeah, we'll we're getting ever closer to the expo, getting close to Kings Classic. Can't wait, man. Can't wait.
Yeah, no. I've been doing a couple of mock drafts. And it's just so weird. Kickers are going in round 8, because they're scoring as many points. Was it Brandon Aubrey was top 25 or top 30 in scoring last year? I'm like, what? But if you're doing sleepers, don't get too excited about the kicker thing because you can only start one kicker. If you're doing my fantasy league, if you're doing MFL, you can super flex kickers. So make sure you check which one you're doing. If you're doing sleeper or if you're doing MFL, because that makes a difference. Because I was on this mock draft, SFB mock draft the other night with some folks, and I picked 2 kickers back to back. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a bunch of kickers, and they're like, in sleeper you can only start 1. And I'm like, wait, what? I thought we could start 5. They're like, oh no, only on MFL. Yeah. Sleeper won't allow it. I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, sleeper, you got to get those tight ends because they get that 1.5 per reception.
Yeah, so. Tight ends. Yeah, so you got to bully tight ends or at least get some good ones. Definitely check out the consistency guide for some good, consistent ones because there are out there. That can get you some good points every week and be of value to you. So. Great, good stuff. All right, that's Ron Rigney. I'm Bob Lung. Always find me on Twitter at Bob_Lung. FantasyFootballExpo.com, theFantasyFootballExpo.com. Get your tickets. We're getting close to 6-7 weeks away, folks. It's coming like a freight train. So have fun at your Scott Fishbowl drafts. We'll see you back again next week. Take care. God bless. We'll see you.